I am super excited to introduce my guest. He's perhaps best known for his starring roles in some of television's most cherished and long-running series, including Taxi, which ran from 1978 to 1983, and Who's the Boss, that ran from 1984 to 1992. He's one of America's most iconic and beloved performers for over 40 years. He even has his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I want to welcome my friend and fellow Brooklynite, Tony Danza. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
What's happening, Billy? Good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you, my friend. You look great.
And thanks for that wonderful introduction.
You know, it's all true, brother. It's all true. You know, I know I've been pestering you to get you on the podcast, and I know you're a busy man. You got your show going on and you're traveling, but I really appreciate you taking out the time, you know, to spend some time with me on the podcast.
I'm really, now that I'm here, I'm happy to do it.
So, you know, I created the podcast to inspire young artists to follow their dreams, right? If a kid like me can come out from Brooklyn at 18 with $200 in his pocket and a dream and make the dream a reality, then why can't that listener out there? You know, if a kid like you can, you know, from Brooklyn to become and do all the amazing things you've done, you know, you've been on Broadway, you've been on television for more years than anybody I know. You've been, I mean, you've had this amazing career. And, you know, I just want to know, how did it get started? When did you know? How did you get started in the business?
You know, it's funny the way you started. You know, I'm a garbage man son from Brooklyn. You know,
yeah.
I have to say, one of the real regrets I have is that I didn't apply myself as a young, so that, you know, this podcast for young artists is so, means so much to me, because I wonder, I can't help but wonder what I might have done had I really paid attention and really, you know, I do this in my act. I hadn't figured out that in order to be interesting, you have to be interested. You know what I mean? I just figured it out last week. I feel a lot better. But but what I'm saying is that, you know, young people have a chance to really apply themselves and then have it come to fruition years later after they get out there and make an attempt to do whatever they want to do with what they've trained. And I don't have that. And so I've really been mostly instinctual. I mean, luckily I did finish college. I think, you know, that having that education is the difference. I think I would have folded when I got the break that I got, because, as you know, I was a fighter. I got out of college. I'd gone to school to be a teacher, and I didn't feel I was old enough to teach anybody anything. I didn't know enough to teach anybody anything. I really got into one of those heads, and so I didn't teach, and I was, you know, taking jobs, and I was bartending, and I was shaping up for North American Van Line. I mean, all these things you do. And a couple of my friends entered me in the Golden Gloves as a joke, because I was always in street fights. And the next thing I know, I was in the Golden Gloves, and I knocked out the first 6 guys I fought.
Wow.
So the guy in the Daily News, Jack Smith, the great Jack Smith, the columnist, he would write what happened in the gloves. And when I fought, he said the battling bartender, he served mittens instead of Manhattans. So it was like, I got this thing and I got hooked on it. I got hooked on boxing. I didn't win the gloves, unfortunately. I was a semifinalist, but anyway, but I got hooked on boxing, and I was in the gym training at Gleason's on 30th and 8th Avenue, and a guy named Stuart Cheslow, who was, you know, researching a pilot that he wanted to make about a young fighter who works out in an old fighter's gym, and they have a relationship. And he saw me in the gym, asked me if I ever thought about being on TV, and I thought he was up to something. And then he invited me to, you know, come to his office. It was a little shitty little office, and excuse my language. And I read. I think he was a little surprised I could read. And then you know, one thing led to another, and somehow I ended up in Jim Brooks of Terms of Endearment and Taxi and Mary Tyler Moore fame. He was doing, you know, he was casting this new show. He's looking for an Irish heavyweight boxer type. And they made it an Italian middleweight. I ended up in his office, and somehow I get the part. So that's, but my point is that, I mean, I think I have two big regrets when I think about my life. Oh, I got a million, we all have them. But I'm saying like conceptual regrets. Like one is that I really wish, I had applied myself as a youngster, as a young person. I just, you can have fun too. I didn't understand it was, wasn't mutually exclusive. You couldn't have fun and still be a good student, So that was number one. And now what's interesting is as you get older, all you want to do is be a student. And that's the really interesting thing. I'm working on the piano. I've been trying to take piano lessons for a year and a half now. I'm like practicing 3-4 hours a day. I get up early in the morning, practice. And I realize I never worked this hard on anything. Like when I was young. I mean, since being on TV and acting and being in shows, it just takes a lot of work and a lot of preparation, and I love it. But I didn't understand that as a young person. And then the other thing, and this one's big, and I tell kids this all the time, is that and tell all older people too, I mean, your age, Billy, is that I never factored into any of my decisions the idea, the fact that I would someday be 72 years old. It's just like, oh, this will go on forever. You just don't even, that decision that you made, would you have made the same decision if you thought to yourself that, geez, someday I'm going to be old? It just changes things. It just puts it in a perspective. And it's unfortunate, this is very near and dear to my heart, this youth thing, because I'm of a mind that we're kidding ourselves and we think all the kids today are just going to grow up well adjusted after all they've seen and what they've been through. In my act, I do a thing about, think about it. We grew up on nothing but love songs, nothing. You had to have love, find love, lost love. That's all it's been about for 100 years, right? And look how we turned out. So I just want people to consider this. So we started a thing here. It's almost 10 years now. I started volunteering at a place called the All Stars. They had a program called Youth Development Through Performance. And basically it's teaching a kid how to act. And we took it further, took it to the Police Athletic League. And we've been there for almost 8 years of the Police Athletic League. We've interacted with maybe 5,000 kids. We have over 200 in college, in purchase. I mean, you can't believe the colleges that we've developed relationships with, because all these colleges are looking to diversify their student bodies. You know what I mean? And we got the kids for them. We really do. And what's interesting about the program, it's an acting program, because when you teach a kid how to act, you teach a kid how to act.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
bravo.
So it's weird how it affects them. Like my partner's this guy, Brian Hills. He's the kid whisperer, Billy. You can't believe this. The most rough, tough, angry, defensive kid comes to the program because it's free. So they come, right? We solicit it to high schools. And the high schools have no money for arts, so they throw us the kids. So we got 1 million kids. Okay. The roughest kid comes to the thing. He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to see what's happening, 3 days after he meets Brian, I have to support my ensemble. I'm not kidding you. And it's thrilling to see this happen, you know what I mean? So it's called the Stars of Tomorrow project, the Stars of Tomorrow project. We just got our 501c3. And I have to tell you, Danny DeVito and Jim Brooks funded me for a year.
Wow.
Yeah, they're really great guys. They want to do something. We did a virtual, the program was at PAL during the pandemic, and we couldn't do our normal fundraiser where we do a show, we like to do an old world variety show. So there's a host and a lot of different acts. It's really fun. But this year we couldn't do it. Last year we couldn't do it. So we did a virtual talent show. I got 5 cops from the NYPD to go against 5 of my kids and it was the Cops versus Kids talent show, and the cast of Taxi were the judges.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And they, so the cast is really behind me. Those guys are really behind me, especially Danny and Jim, of course, but everybody's really behind me, and they've seen what this thing does. I mean, they're kids doing Shakespeare and knocking them off their socks. I mean, knocking their socks off. It's unbelievable. So it's really, really exciting. But I think it's important that we, used to be a time in this country where we, all of us, private and public, governmental and corporate, all took an interest in nurturing our children. There used to be a family hour on TV. When I got on TV, there was a standards and practices. They would come down and tell you, no, you can't say that, and sometimes it was ridiculous. But, in retrospect, you start to think, wow, I don't know, maybe it wasn't such a bad idea. And now we've just turned them into customers like everybody else. And we can just, it's weird. And I think it's really silly and really kind of preposterous that we think that given childhoods that are so different from what we grew up in. I grew up in East New York and Brooklyn, they're making a TV show about it because it's so tough. That's how bad it is. But it was a tough neighborhood there, but you didn't get killed. You might have gotten a fight every day, but you didn't get killed. I mean, it was a different kind of world then, and we have to realize that. We have to, and the funny thing, another thing is that we think, one of the things you learn when you work with kids, and I promise I'm going to shut up soon, Billy, I promise.
Please don't.
But one of the things you learn when you work with kids is that it's so clear that, what you don't know, you don't know. In other words, it don't matter if me and you and everybody else knows it, the kid doesn't know it. And we don't teach a lot of stuff that we think they know, that we think you should know. We don't teach civics anymore. I took a bunch of kids shopping. The other day because they don't know how to shop for food. And then we had a cooking class, a Zoom cooking class. I made some breaded chicken cutlets. We made a salad you can make every day with oil and vinegar, and broccolini and potatoes. So
nice.
Something. And they all got into it, and everybody, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
they don't know. So you gotta really understand that, and that's I think that this podcast is a welcome addition to that effort.
I really found, for me, Tony, the secret to living is being of service, giving, leaving something behind. I only wish that there was somebody like me when I was a kid that could have said, hey, come here, let me show you. This is the route. This is what you want to do.
Well, they were there, Billy. You just didn't run into them.
Yeah, I didn't run into them.
Yeah, you didn't run into them. But they were there. They've been there. There's the people are there. No, look, it's so funny. People always say, it's so nice what you do. Wasn't that great what you do? No, it's nice for me.
Yeah.
Makes me feel good. I swear, when I go, we did a thing last year. I decided I wanted to do a tap dance ensemble because we have the Cops and Kids chorus. I put together a bunch of cops with some kids, and it made a chorus. They sang at the tree lighting. They sang, you heard of the Harlem Boys Choir?
Mm-hmm.
Cops and Kids chorus, same cadence. So they sang there. They sang at Citi Field for 9/11. They sang it. They were on Rachel Ray. I mean, it's a going concern, and we're going to keep that with our program with the Stars of Tomorrow. The NYPD is going to continue to work with us on that. So we're really excited about that. Sometimes I go to rehearsals. So I know I was telling you. So I wanted to have a tap dance ensemble. We had a thing. We had a gala coming up for PAL, and I thought this would be a great thing to showcase the kids. So I bought 8 pairs of shoes, and I got these 8 kids and myself and Brian, and I choreographed to New York, and one of the kids plays the piano, and then the kids said, well, could we sing while we dance? And I was like, really? You want to do that? And you got to see, they harmonized and everything. And it's unbelievable. And so we got to work. Well, I would go to rehearsal 2 times a week, right? And the problem with PAL is because we have older kids, you can't get into the PAL centers until 6:30 at night, because they can't mix young kids with old kids when you have older kids when you have government contracts. Fine, I get it. But anyway, it doesn't help me, because what do I do with the kids from the time they get out of school till 6:30? And then they go home so late. I don't like that either. But anyway, we did it for a while just because we had to do it. And it was like 6 to 8:30, the rehearsals. Well, there's a bar on the way home from it's on 52nd Street, and you walk down 52nd Street to 10th Avenue, and to 9th Avenue, and there's a bar on the way. If I stop at that bar, I'm in such a good mood, I don't get out of there for like 2 days from rehearsal. I mean it. I come out of there, I can't stop at a bar. It's it has an effect on you. It really does, and the kids are really, 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 really endearing. They make you, first of all, this is going to be the kids that are going to run this place. They're going to be the ones. We got to help them. We got to give them a hand up. We really do.
I love that. I love it. You know what I love about you, Tony? You're always, from when I first met you. I mean, do you remember our first meeting at all? I'm curious.
I think. Wait, no. We were rehearsing. It was. Am I right? Because I got this is what I think. We were rehearsing, and you came in, and they told me this is who's going to play the part, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. So what happened?
I don't remember it.
Yeah. So it was. Yeah. I was reading for a role for Al on Who's the Boss, and it was the breakdown was a Brooklyn street kid, and
it was a stretch, but we thought
I was like when I read that's my role, but first off, I wanted it. I was hungry. I wanted that role. You know why I wanted that role? Because I grew up watching you on TV. I watched Taxi faithfully. I watched that show. I loved that show. I watched it all the time from 1978 to 1983. I watched that show, and
Billy, excuse me, I was fooling around. I was with somebody who likes Taxi. Say they put it on. I watched 19 episodes. I couldn't stop.
Yeah, it's one of the best shows ever. Forget about it. I mean, Louis De Palma was my favorite. Watching.
Yeah,
But I would watch that show, and then came Who's the Boss.
Yeah.
And I watched you on Who's the Boss, and I was like, look at this guy. He's got a Brooklyn accent. He's on TV. I was like, hey,
it's possible.
It's possible, right? So now, I'm in Hollywood, and then I get this audition for, Who's the Boss, and I go, that's my friggin' role. I'm going in. So I went in, and I remember I auditioned, and then they brought you in. They brought you off the stage or whatever to come up into my reading, my audition. And I
remember something. I knew that. Go ahead.
You came in, and I was at the audition, and I didn't know you were coming in. There you were, and we kind of like hit it off right away immediately. It was like, two fellow Brooklynites.
Yeah.
And then I got cast, and then I came down to stage, and I met everybody, and I was like, it was like a dream come true. I mean, for me,
I remember you coming down to the stage. Yeah,
it was truly.
By the way, you were great. You were great at it. It was. I want people to understand who didn't see the show. He was a threat because Alyssa liked it. I mean, Sam liked it. My daughter liked this motorcycle. What are you kidding me? What are you doing? It was
the hood with a hairbrush.
The hood with the hairbrush.
Yeah. So, but it was such an amazing, I grew up watching, Soap with Katherine Hellman, and, coming onto the show, and what an amazing cast it was. And it was just, for me, it was like school, like comedy school.
Billy, tell them what it was like, though.
It was magical.
Yeah.
In my career, in all my years, I've never worked on a show that was as amazing as that show. I mean, it was a big family. We had fun. We laughed. We played. We It was an easy show. I mean, you had that thing running like such a smooth ship, man. When you go,
So we all had, first of all, Catherine Hellman,
comic genius.
can't talk about it without
God rest her soul.
Yeah, not only a comic genius, but just like
an angel.
What she reminds me of? This is a weird reference. I used to watch Star Trek a lot, and in Star Trek, there was an episode where everybody was hurt and they were hanging. They all had wounds, and these women came and they touched them, and the wounds migrated from the men into the women, and then the women got sick, and then they healed too. And that's how I felt about Catherine. She was such a soulmate, and I went through a really important time in my life there. I got married. I went from being a wild man in Hollywood to getting married, to having kids, and I had Catherine. I mean, she was a big part of why, I succeeded. But I mean, I just, when I think about it, I run into people every once in a while who say things like that, who say, what a time we had, and, it was great. But all I remember is how it was like a cocoon, and we were all together, and it just was, when I'm grateful, that's one of the things I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that I got a chance to be part of it. And most people don't know this though. I came on and I guest starred on the show, but then I'm a struggling actor, and I'm like, how the frig am I going to pay the bill, kind of thing, and you gave me a job as your stand-in. So not only was I on the show, but I got to be a part of it every day for 3 years. When you weren't around, I was blocking. I was standing next to Judith Light and Catherine Hellman. Every episode, I was there.
And she's great to stand next to.
Oh my gosh, it was such an amazing. I mean,
Billy, let me tell you something. People talk about sitcoms, and the key to getting it to work is the woman, is the second banana.
Mm-hmm.
It's your partner. I did a bunch of them. I didn't have Judith. The one that I had Judith worked. And I always think about that, and she's so magnificent.
She is. And she's such an amazing actor,
I used to say, remember what I used to say about it? She's so good. She could cry out of one eye at a time and wink at you with the other. I mean, she was unbelievable. She sobbed incessantly on One Life to Live. She played this hooker, this housewife hooker, and she was crying all the time. And so, man, could she cry? Holy mackerel.
That's amazing. What's your fondest memory from those days? From Who's the Boss?
Let me think. That's nobody's ever asked me my fondest memory. I have so many fond memories. I mean, I can't help but think about, the fact that I got married and had a baby, and Katie was born. I think that's really the big thing. But as far as I have one that's kind of stupid. So I did the first year of Who's the Boss, but we were on at 8:30. It's Alexa is talking. But the first year of Who's the Boss, we were on at 8:30 after John Ritter's new show. He had a new show after Three's Company, and he was on at 8:00. We were on at 8:30, and we were getting killed. John Ritter was getting killed. And we were up against the A-Team, and the A-Team was, it beat the American Music Awards. I mean, they were a juggernaut. I was down at the Long Beach Grand Prix. I was driving in the Long Beach Grand Prix Celebrity. You get to drive the cars. It was amazing. But I was down there in Entertainment Tonight, and what happened was it was right before the season started, and ABC had decided to switch it because I had been campaigning for an 8:00 time slot. I said, let me start the night off. You're killing me, leaving me. I got to pick up the slack, and I can't do it because anyway. So they put us on at 8:00, and so Entertainment Tonight was there, and the guy says to me, "Hey Tony, you're up against the A-Team. What do you think?" Says, looks bad, huh? I said, no, I tell you, actually, I think you better tell Mr. T he's got to hock some of that gold. Just like a wise guy, remember a wise guy, And of course, we crushed, we went, it was amazing. It was a huge hit, and that's when we became a hit after that. So
That's awesome.
But I remember a lot of what I remember for the 100th episode, I brought a lot of my family out. My mom was there, my Aunt Frances, not my mom, what am my mom? I mean, my Aunt Frances was there, my Uncle Phil, and some other people who my friends and who really meant a lot to me. And I can't, to make 100 episodes in anything is just, I think
it's amazing. I mean, you broke syndication records on that, on Who's the Boss. You want to know one of my fondest memories is from Who's the Boss?
Tell me. We
used to have a little routine. Remember, we do the reading and then we go play golf at Whitsett.
Yeah.
Remember? We had a little routine. We, every week we play golf, and I get crushed. We'd play golf and we play for money, and I'd lose all the time.
And we all pretty much stunk, by the way.
I was losing money every week, so I was like, I'm not taking this anymore. So I got me some videos. I got me my little putting green in the house. I was practicing, and we go to play golf, and who's there is Sylvester Stallone. And he joins us to play golf. So I remember I'm on the putting green, and this is when I'm playing pretty good that day. I'm making some putts, I'm making some chips, and I'm on the putting green, and I look to my left, and there is Tony Bantha that I grew up watching, and to my right is Rocky. And I make the putt, and I'm like, I'm getting higher, and I'm like, this is fucking weird, because I grew up watching you guys, and here I am playing golf with you.
I had a very similar experience with Sly. So when I first got to Hollywood, one night I go to the club. I went to Carlos and Charlie's, Pravado, and I ran into Frank Stallone. I'd never met anybody. So we started talking, and he says to me, I hear you're a fighter. And I said, yeah, I see. So he says, well, he says, we're doing Rocky 3. We're at Washington Studios. So the one on Washington Avenue, I don't know what it's called. The one where Gone with the Wind was done. It's still got the building.
Overland or?
John Culver Studios.
Culver.
So he says, why don't you come over? We got a gym. We got, we're boxing. We're having a good time. I said, if I get a chance, I will. So one day I go and I get there and I walk in and he's in the ring boxing, and he sees me and he says, hey, don't worry, man. He says, you box my brother. So he's like, I hope he's got another brother. So change. And by the way, it's a sound stage that they've converted to a gym. You got the gym they get the ring in the middle. They had the statues of Rocky and Apollo Creed,
Yeah.
And so I come out. This guy comes over and he says, I'll help you out. And this is before Velcro, they had to tie your gloves on and everything else. And the guy ties my gloves on, puts my headgear on, I'm standing in the ring in the corner looking out away from the corner, away from the ring, and puts my mouthpiece in. I turn around and there's Rocky across the ring. That's the craziest thing ever. I mean, there was Rocky. I mean, this is, because believe me, I was as astounded as you were, so it was amazing. But I know exactly what you're saying. Anyway, we did box, which is another story.
That's awesome. I remember coming to visit you when you were doing the remake of 12 Angry Men, and that was a cool set. I walked onto that set, and you introduced me to George C. Scott, Jack Lemmon. I remember Gandolfini. I met Gandolfini for the first time. He was on that. I mean, you had the rest of the cast.
Ozzie Davis,
Ozzie
Hulu style. I mean, it was
star-studded.
incredible. It was incredible. Edward Olmos, Bill Peterson, as you said, Jack Lemmon. The greatest. Hume Cronyn.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Armin Mueller-Stahl. I mean, it was
amazing cast.
It was unbelievable. What was that other guy's name? Courtney Vance and the other guy. You see, you're pushing me on names here. I'm sorry, Bill.
It had an amazing cast. You know what I don't know, most people maybe don't know about you. I mean, everybody knows you from Who's the Boss and Taxi, but they don't know that you have an amazing career on Broadway. I mean, you've been in, The Producers, the what was the Vegas Honeymoon to Vegas. I mean, what are some of I remember seeing you with George C. Scott at Wrong Turn to Lungfish, right?
Lungfish, yes.
Yeah, I mean that was awesome to see you and George C. Scott on stage.
Yeah, I was in a view from the bridge, and I actually got to work with Arthur Miller.
Wow.
I actually have a framed letter from him. I sent him a note saying, "Hey Arthur, I'm going to finish pretty soon. Why don't you come down and see it once more? See if I've done anything better." And he wrote back and said that he wasn't feeling well and his droopy weather wasn't doing him any good. Droopy. He said, but rarely have I felt in better hands. So I framed that,
That's awesome.
And I did A View from the Bridge. I did Iceman Cometh, with Kevin
Eugene O'Neill.
He did that big production. No, so I've been on Broadway. It's, as you mentioned, The Producers was unbelievable to do The Producers. I played Max Bialystock. I was at a 20th anniversary of The Producers recently, and Nathan Lane, who I'm glad is feeling better. He was quite ill, but he's feeling better. He's going to be back on Broadway. But anyway, he said he was up there and he said Tony Danza is here, the thinnest Max. But yeah, let me tell you, Bill, I took a bunch of kids the other night to a piano lesson and on Broadway, and we were standing out in front before we went in, and I said, do you realize where you are? I said, here you are. You're like, this is it. This is the Great White Way. Look at this. Look at you. We're going in to see an August Wilson play at the Barrymore Theater. I mean, this is where you want to be. And this kind of job, what it does to you, it not only makes you who you want to be, but it makes you do things that you didn't think you could do. Because it takes over your life. 8 shows a week. You got to be disciplined. You got to take care of your voice. You got to think about everything you do, because tomorrow night you let them guys down, and it's the greatest team effort ever. If you think being on a baseball team or a football team or something, try doing a musical. I'm telling you, it's the greatest. Okay, so I tell them all this. Now we go in, we see the play. The play's fabulous. Sam Jackson's wife, LaTanya, she is an incredible director. She really is. The work is incredible. We go in, and then there was a talk back afterwards. So I brought the kids in, and there were 2 young actors in the play. I can't remember their names, I'm sorry, but they're 12 or 13 years old, and they alternate. 2 nights on, 2 nights off, so they don't kill themselves. And so I raised my hand right away, and I said, listen, I have some aspiring actors here, and I've been talking to them about how great it is to be on Broadway. Please tell them what it feels like to be in such an incredible production like this, and tell them what it takes. And they went on and on, these kids, about it. And I watched our kids watch them, and it was so thrilling. It's so thrilling, And that's what Broadway is. Broadway is one of the great, not only one of the great, performance spaces and for personal achievement, one of the great places to try your best, but it's also the greatest teaching tool. It really is. It teaches by example. not only in what's in the show, but how the show's done and the work that it goes into it and what it takes to put on a show like that. So it was really thrilling, really. I got to get back there, Bill. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. I want to get back to bed.
I'm jealous because I miss New York. I mean, you're back.
You know what John Updike said?
What?
John Updike said people who don't live in New York are just kidding.
How you like living in New York?
It's the kind of place where you really do feel like you could turn a corner and your life could change. I don't know why. It just is. I don't know. It's just something about it. I can't even.
What's in the blood?
I love walking. I love the subway. I don't like driving anymore, so I don't like to drive.
You take the subway?
Oh, I'm always on the subway.
Really?
Are you kidding? I got my reduced fare senior citizens Metro card.
People know.
$1.35 a ride, and you get anywhere in the city.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the subway's amazing. I love the subway, but
I take the bus too. I like the bus. I like to be above ground too.
Really?
I like the bus. Yeah, and I take a lot of cabs. But I'm a walker too. I like. That's the thing about the city,
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It really, it's lonely at times, even though it's so crowded.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm by myself. But it's sort of, it asks something of you, which I really kind of like about it. It asks that you are, it's like, I don't know if you ever seen Fran Lebowitz, the writer. She says, pretend it's a city, she tells people. Because, people think, so it demands of you that you're part of something bigger than yourself. And that is something that is really important in people's lives. And I bet a lot more people would be better off if they felt that way, that they were part of something big. We used to feel that way in America about America, but I think a lot of that is not as strong as it used to be for a lot of people.
No.
For one reason or another.
So when you were talking about the kids in the theater and how it's such a discipline, and I mean, this is as an actor, this is your instrument. If you're going to be doing a musical, you got to keep it in peak shape, mentally, spiritually, physically. I mean, I think that's a really important tool that I teach my actors. I teach them how to breathe. I teach them how to meditate. It's life tools. I wish somebody would have taught me as a young actor to how to breathe, how to ground myself, and how to get out of my head, and all those beautiful.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah, get out of your own
way. That's the thing I think you learn as you get older, as you're doing it longer and longer, is just get out of your way, your own way. I'm a singer, right? And it's interesting that I even say it that way, because there was a time I wouldn't even have said that, because I finally, I think, gave myself permission to sing, and it took a long time. And acting is the same way. It takes a long time to get to a point where you give yourself permission that I'm going to open my mouth and what's going to come out. I have confidence that what's going to come out is going to be on key. All right, good enough. Mm-hmm. And so that being able to do that, that takes time. That really takes time. And I think that one of the things I like about the singing, I feel like I'm singing so much better. That sort of dripped down into my work, into the acting work. I'm playing a part on a show called Raising Canaan. It's a power book show, one of the 50 Cent shows. Really terrific show, really well done. A little bit apocalyptic, dystopian, as far as I'm concerned, but anyway, I'm playing a bad guy. A lot of fun. Cool. And I sometimes find myself saying to myself, just don't get in your own way. Just make a choice and go for it, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm telling you, that F will be there. That's what it's like, Bill.
You know, when I got to see you recently in your show, Standards and Stories, I mean, I was blown away. You know, I mean, I remember when you just started, you know, years ago, you know.
That's what my secretary after the first show said to me. I said, "What'd you think?" She said, "Almost not embarrassing."
I thought you were amazing. So, but you know, I mean, that's, you know, you're touring, you're going to, you know, you're performing, you're singing, you know, so you got to be in good shape to do that. So, you know, do you have what's your morning routine? I mean, you look amazing. You're lean. Huh?
I'm still training. I figure, you know what? Here's my new plan. This is my new plan as far as acting, as far as career. I'm going to be the last one standing. That's it. They're going to have to come to me eventually because we're going to run out of old guys and I'm going to still be around. So here's the thing. I just really believe in a big way in physical fitness. I think, you know, when you're a fighter, you're always thinking the other guy's training, you know, so you better get in the gym, you know, otherwise you get your butt kicked at the end of the week because you'll be in better shape. And so I've just always been very disciplined about it. I think it's really important. And like you say, it's your instrument, you know, and I'll be honest with you, you know, I have people I know and you see people around, especially because I've been traveling so much all over the country. I don't know how people live in fact, in our, one of the things I told you about the cooking class. Well, the reason we do that, we're doing that in the program, is because I really think we need to have a wellness component. I really do. Again, back to what you don't know, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what we, you know, I think unfortunately that's one of the things that, you know, should be a priority. I think unfortunately some of that is now being celebrated, that, you know, you know, don't body shame me. I know, but don't tell me how great I look too when I'm, you know, I think at 40 you can be healthy and I guess obese, but I think at 70, man, it's hard even in shape. So I don't know what it would be like if I had another 30 pounds or something on me.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I understand. And by the way, I just read an article, you know, what obesity isn't. It's not about willpower. It really isn't. I mean, certainly there's an element of that, but it's people, it's a food industry that loads it up with corn syrup. It's a fast food industry that markets to children. It's, you know, and again, it's what you don't know, you don't know. You know, one thing I really love about my parents is my father cooked every night. Every night you had to have a balanced meal. He'd moan and groan, and because my mother didn't come home from work till later, so he had to do it. And
wow, dad did all the cooking?
My father did all the cooking.
Wow.
And I watched him.
So
that's why I love to cook so much, because I watched my old man.
I've been, you know, my meatballs are, I say they're Tony Danza's mother's recipe. So I don't know.
Remember, they beat Bobby Flay. My meatballs beat Bobby.
I know, but are your mom's or your dad's recipe?
No, it's my father. My
father. Oh, really?
No, my father.
I've been lying.
My mother cooked twice a year. She cooked twice a year. She cooked the lasagna on Christmas and Thanksgiving. That's it. Yeah. She didn't do anything else. But he made everything. He made the meal. But what he did was every night he made a balanced meal. You got a protein, you got a meat, you got a fish, you got a potato, you got the salad that he made every night, you got a vegetable, and go get a loaf of Italian bread. And so every night we ate. And so, like during the pandemic, Billy, I bet you I cooked 450 meals for myself without going. I never ordered in. I cooked.
Yeah, I love cooking. You know, I got to tell you, I just recently ordered "Don't Fill Up on the Impasto." I got your book, your cooking book, which I love. I'm going there and I'm, you know, doing recipes and new recipes I haven't tried, and they're awesome. I thought they were your mom's. Now I know that you were dad's.
No, it's my father mostly. Yeah, my father. But a lot of the family stuff is in there. And what's great about that cookbook, not that I'm pushing the cookbook, what I love about that cookbook is it's kind of a memoir cookbook.
Yeah.
Because me and my son, when we wrote it together, which was really something.
Yeah. How was
By the
Mark?
way, he's going to be 52 next week,
Wow.
my son. But me and my son, when we wrote that, we connected stories of the relatives to the recipes.
Mm.
And what happened was he told me so many stories that I didn't know, about my uncles and my cousin. And so it's a really interesting, I love that book for that. And there's 50 great recipes aside.
No, it's a great book. I'm enjoying it. I've only tried a handful of recipes. I got to, get back to
Try
that.
the lasagna, get crazy. You got to, there's the secret to a great lasagna is you have to make meatballs first. You can't just use chopped meat. You got to make the meatballs first and chop them up, break them up and use them as the meat. I also add a little sausage to it just for flair, or you could use a little pork too if you want.
You're making me hungry.
But you got to make the meatballs. That's number one. But try it. I'm telling you, it's a little work, a little labor intensive. But man, you make a tray, you freeze it. I got a piece in the freezer right now. I'm thinking about. You know what I'm using? By the way, my building had an accident. We have no gas, no stove, no oven. I got myself an air fryer. I'm trying to figure out, I'm going to make a meatloaf in it tonight. I'm going to try. And I'm trying to figure out how to make Sunday sauce, meatballs, and everything else in it. So
in an air fryer.
Air fryer. It's really, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I use it, but you're gonna make a Sunday sauce and yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure it out, but I think I got it figured.
That's awesome. I mean, you also wrote another book. What was your other book? You wrote
I wrote a book about a year. I took off a year and tried to teach high school in Philadelphia in a public school, and I got a job in Philadelphia.
They filmed that. There was a series, right? It was.
It ended up being, after I did that, somebody pitched me on covering it, making a documentary out of it, and it was a 7-episode documentary for A&E.
Yeah, I remember that.
Called Teach, and I was at Northeast High School in Philadelphia. Any Vikings in the house? It was an incredible. I mean, ironically, I taught 10th grade English. And it's the hardest job I ever attempted, but maybe the most rewarding, absolutely most thrilling. The kids were wonderful. It was, I still keep in touch with them to this day. And I wrote this book called I'd like to apologize to every teacher I ever had my year at Northeast High. As a rookie teacher at Northeast High. And I told the publishers, I says, I want to apologize to every teacher I've had. She says, that's way too long. That's not going to fit on the cover. But that's what we did. And it's a retelling of the year. And I really, the book was on the bestseller list for a few weeks, for about 5 weeks. And I'm proud of it. You know how many times teachers come up to me and say, I really like this book? And to hear teachers say that, because teachers, telling you, what I learned during that year was how difficult it is to be a teacher. You're tasked to be not only a teacher, but a mother, a father, a best friend, a social worker, a therapist. I mean, it's incredible what you're up against, and very little resources, and sometimes very little parental support. It's a tough thing. I mean, just think about this. Imagine being responsible for 150 teenagers. I mean, I think I got 3 kids. That's way too much. Imagine having 150 that you're responsible for. And you feel this tremendous responsibility that this is the only 10th grade they're going to get. It's nothing. Well, they had Tony Danza. Let's give them another one. No, that's it. So you have to really come through for them. Yeah.
So, I love, I mean, this is a real school behind me. It's not a green screen. This is my school. That I opened up. 8 years ago, so I got my teen class coming in and from 4 to 6, they're going to be here. And I just love teaching. I mean, I think it's it's the best. It's the best to be able to shape and mold and give them life tools. It's acting class, but it's really
exactly
life
no,
class.
no, you get them with the acting, but you get them with that other stuff.
It's all about getting them just to stand in their power, be confident. It's their job skills.
Not only that, what we try to stress too. We try to stress the idea of ensemble, of being in something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Whether it be a show, whether it be a combo, whatever it is, it's something bigger than you. And so sometimes you have to really sublimate your needs to the better, the greater good of this bigger thing you're part of. And we stress a lot of that. And that's, I got a great story, Billy. A girl came from East New York and Brooklyn, and she was a really 16 years old, defensive, just not a happy kid. But she came to the playing program. She didn't want to do anything. And we do this one exercise with these expressionless masks. We put the mask on the kids, and kids turn into Laurence Olivier's. And we finally got her in a mask, and she loved it, and she became a stalwart of the program. And at the end of it, we debriefed her. We always do that. What'd you get out of the course? What'd you think? And you get the usual, well, I met kids that I would have never talked to. They're from the Bronx. I'm from Brooklyn. And I got out of my 6-block radius, and I did things that I never thought. I saw things. I saw her play, Then she says, and I realized that sometimes you can be a leader by being a follower.
Mm.
And in the context of the acting classes, I don't have to tell you, there's always 3 kids that want to do everything, and they got to sit down to let the other kids get up and do something. And she got that. And that's the kind of life, critical thinking, life lessons that you get in that kind of a class.
That's beautiful.
I'm proud of it, yeah.
You should be. I was looking at looking at your IMDb, and I realized that we got. Besides Who's the Boss, we did Hudson Street together. But, then I looked and I said, oh, yeah, that's right. We did Crash together. We did The Nail, the story of Joey Mardone.
Yeah.
How freaking weird is those 2 movies, we kind of, I shot while, you left Philly when I came into Philly when I was doing The Nail or whatever. So we were like, we missed each other. But, we got a lot of projects that we worked on together.
That's so great. That's so great. Wow.
So, you know what I used to love? When we were doing Who's the Boss is I would love when I could bust you up, when I could get you to laugh. I could see
you were good at that. No, you were funny.
You know what? I would love to see that blooper reel. Remember those blooper reels from at the end of the season? There was some great ones.
Great gag reels. Yeah. Oh my God. It was never in the gag reel, Catherine Hellman. She never made a mistake.
She could come in with one line.
Gag reels. I know.
One line and steal the show. One line. She was amazing.
Something else.
Miss her. How have you seen, you stay in touch with the Who's the Boss family? Stay in touch with
Alyssa. We're contemplating doing something together.
The Who's the Boss reboot, right? Or
it's not a reboot.
It's
sort of a sequel.
A sequel, okay.
Yes, it's sort of a story of a single mom trying to fulfill a dream, and her father was trying to help her do it, and the clash over the way to do it. But who knows? But I speak to her. She's she's a mom. She's a all that stuff. And then Judith is one of the busiest actresses in the business. So so we touch base, but it's not like you see each other that much anymore.
I got to see her. What was the play she did? God Looked Away with Al Pacino in Pasadena. I came to see the play, and I was like, yeah, I know Judith. Went down and I got to meet Al. That was cool.
That's real cool.
But she was great, man. I mean, she's so talented.
Hey, listen, man, I got to go.
Yeah, listen, brother, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, and thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, Tone, for taking this time and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge on the podcast. I love you, bro. It's great to see you. And
Yeah, keep your chin down.
I hope to see you soon.
Okay, buddy.
All right. Take care, brother. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.